Our next guest is not only the lead singer of the band Japanese Breakfast, she is the New York Times bestselling author of Crying in H Mart, a powerful memoir about growing up as a Korean American that is currently being adapted as a feature film. She is also the music keynote speaker this year at South by Southwest. Please welcome Michelle Zauner to the South by Southwest studio. Michelle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You just finished the keynote, then you signed books with adoring fans, and then you came here. And then last night, we all came and saw your band, Japanese Breakfast. You guys were awesome.
Thank you.
How do you not become exhausted? Like the fact that you're here sitting talking to me, I feel like you deserve an award.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like close to running on empty at this point, but I really love what I do, and in some ways it's very easy and not so hard.
You wear multiple hats. I got to start with the band first because we saw it last night. It was an awesome performance. Congratulations. 2 Grammy nominations.
Thank you.
When you Japanese by Spring, it's been around for a while, but one of the Grammy nominations was Best New Artist?
Yes, yeah.
So when you got there, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not that new.
I definitely was not complaining at all. So I was just like, everyone be quiet, like I'm Best New Artist. But yeah, I mean, I think it's new to the Academy. We certainly have reached a place in our career that we've never been at before, and I think that I'm definitely not going to complain to be nominated in a major category.
Two categories.
Yeah, 2 categories. So it was very unexpected and a true honor.
And the Grammys are upcoming next month. The jitters, are they there? Do you feel like I got this? I got at least one of the 2 in the bag.
I am like totally okay with losing both of them. I know that I'm in very good company. I had a really funny conversation with Ben Gibbard from Death Cab for Cutie where he told me one year, I'll follow you into the dark. Lost to my humps.
Oh.
So he's like, you'll be in good company. So like, so many of my heroes are like Grammy nominees that didn't make it, and it's just.
I did not know that my humps.
Yeah, I know.
Beat that classic.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's an honor. It's the cheesy thing that everyone says, but it's an honor just to be nominated.
I have to ask this question because you're very humble about it. Obviously, you're excited. We're all fans of your music. It's like, damn right, it's time. But sometimes the best one doesn't win, and then the camera pans on your face. Are you practicing your face? Let's just practice right now. The winner is Michelle Zauner, Japanese Breakfast.
I feel like, the winner?
Yeah, suppose they say, and the winner is Michelle Zauner.
I'll spit out my drink or
all right,
something.
okay, let's do the other one. And the winner is Black Eyed Peas for My Humps Too.
Peas, I'd be like, pull out a bag of Cheetos and just be like,
oh, that's good. That's very good. With the music, there's this great quote that you have, and I want to ask about this. It's from the New York Times interview. It says, "If I'm going to take the time to go in on something, I want to be terrified of it." Which is an amazing way of looking at life. So most people are like, if I want to go in on something, I want to have a modicum of comfort. You want to be terrified. Explain that.
I don't know. I mean, I guess like that's what really great art of the ages has been, I think, of like something entirely new, something that you aren't sure makes you a crazy person, but is worth the shot. I think that putting any art out there is a really terrifying experience, and I've found in my life when I've leaned into what makes me uncomfortable, some of my best work happens. So I think that's just always been something I've learned over the years.
Well, you've done 2 pieces of work that we're going to talk about: the book, which everyone knows you about, but also the album Jubilee is the one that's been nominated for 2 Grammys. And both Jubilee and Crying in H Mart was finished right before the pandemic, right? And with Jubilee, for those who follow your career, they're like, there's a type of vibrancy and pep in this one that wasn't in the other ones. And did that reflect the state of mind you were at that time, right before the pandemic? There's a joyfulness to it.
Yes, certainly, and that was a very conscious decision. I wrote 2 albums before this one that was very much about the loss of my mother in 2014. It was about grief and death, and there were some pretty sad material. And then I wrote an entire book about that experience, about caretaking and about chemotherapy, and I just felt like I had said everything I needed to say over the last 6 years about that experience.
You lived it. You
Yeah,
said it, you
I was
wrote a
ready
book.
to move on creatively, and I thought that the most surprising thing I could do as an artist was to write an album about joy, and I was really ready to finally do that for this record.
And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah. But I think in a way, like good things happen to those who wait, and I think that I couldn't have asked for a better response to the 2 pieces of work that I sat on for quite some time.
Jubilee comes out. It comes from a place of joy after years of pain, and we'll talk about the book. And there was a joy to seeing the performance yesterday. I mean, maybe I'm reading into it, but like you just seem so happy to be there. And I know there's so many musicians. I've talked to so many. They're like, I had plans, and the pandemic happened. And South by Southwest, we're live for the first time doing the studio in 3 years. They're like, we're just so grateful to be performing music with people.
Totally.
And I know with your tour it got canceled, and so just being there with people yesterday, having your music being appreciated, how did it feel?
It felt wonderful, you know, it's so great to be back, and you know, South by Southwest is honestly a really special place for me. I got signed at South by Southwest, I got a booking agent at South by Southwest. A lot of the people I still work with I met at South by, so you know, it's been really how I chart our success as a band and our growth as a band in so much. I mean, we started playing like 9 different showcases like when we first started out, and then we came back and we started to like play some, you know, better spots, and then, you know, we came back as a headliner, and now we're playing even bigger gigs. So it's been a really great way to look back at my career, because I feel like in a lot of ways it really started here, the way that, you know, a lot of bands really hope that South by works out for them.
There's a lot of young musicians, also a lot of young writers who are looking at this interview right now, looking, you know, like, man, she has an amazing career. I want to be like her. I want to break through like her, still retain my roots and my voice, but also get mainstream credibility. We were at South by watching the concerts yesterday. There were bands that came up before you and after you, and you sit there, and I was just thinking to myself, how the heck does a band break through? Like, you know, the bands come here, they're independent, they got to do like 9 shows, they're exhausted. Is there an alchemy? Is there something that you think works? Is it just the hand of God? Like, how does a band utilize South by to really try to crack through?
I think it's a combination of things. I do think it's like a lot of luck and a lot of really great timing. I mean, I was in bands for, you know, I've been in bands for 15 years, and I've worked really hard. I've booked a lot of DIY tours. I slept on a lot of floors. I've played to a lot of shows to no one, and it's a really harsh, discouraging profession, but it's also a really rewarding and the most fun job that you could have. I mean, I think the best advice I can give is to just go in without much expectation and try your best and try to be nice to people, try to meet as many people as you can and put yourself out there, try to constantly make work and put it out into the world, and specifically to make work that doesn't pander to what's popular at the time. Find art, find your voice, find what excites you and focus on that. And the worst thing that can happen is that you have a bunch of really great creative material that, you know, at least develops some sort of small following, I think.
I'm going to confess, I came late to Japanese Breakfast because I'm like, Michelle Zauner, yeah, the writer. And like, you know, Japanese breakfast? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Japanese breakfast? Is it special? Do I need to try Japanese breakfast? Like, no, she's a singer of Japanese breakfast. I'm like, no, she's a writer. What are you talking about? And they're like, no, she's also the singer of Japanese breakfast. I'm like, what? And so I came to know about you from your book.
Oh, wow.
And the book is doing well, I would say. International bestseller. And it's going to be adapted into a movie. Now we're going to talk about that. But I read the book. You know, my daughter, who's now 5, she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer right before the pandemic.
I'm so sorry.
And no, but she's okay now. Knock on, full liver transplant.
Wow.
But we were caretakers, and I think what people don't realize is when cancer strikes, yes, it affects the person who's struggling from it, but also the caretakers. And so you write this book, Crying in H Mart, and before this book gets published, you submit an essay to Glamour. In 2016, people always go to the New Yorker, but it's Glamour. So let's take you back to 2016 now. 2014, your mom was diagnosed with cancer. You're the caretaker, disrupts your entire life. 2016, you say, okay, I'm going to write an essay. I'm going to submit it to Glamour. Submitting it to Glamour at that time, did you ever think that the world would appreciate the story to the point where it would become a book? Crying in H Mart?
Oh no, I mean, I think that, you know, I just had a real sense of urgency to to write down what I was feeling. You know, I just had a really difficult time communicating what I was going through to my peers, because a lot of people my age hadn't gone through what I had gone through. I felt like no one really understood the gravity of what I had seen. And so it just felt important for me to unpack on a personal level. And, you know, once I was finished, I figured I might as well, you know, try to put it out in the world. And I submitted to all sorts of literary contests without entry fees and got rejection letters month after month for about 9 months before I got an email from Glamour.
Wow.
And I had totally forgotten I'd even submitted, because I was just blindly submitting, like, at work at my desktop to all these different contests. And yeah, I never anticipated the response that I received. I always, growing up, I just never thought that my story, or I never thought I could write nonfiction because I felt like my story was
You wrote it beautifully.
Was too niche of a story for anyone to relate to. And it's been really validating to see it achieve such mainstream success, and when it seems just like such a specific personal story, but so many of the people I've talked to have brought up that sometimes it's the most specific things that wind up being the most universal, and I've definitely found that to be true.
My college professor, who's a writer, told me 20 years ago, the universal is found in the specific.
Yes, yeah.
And specifically when it comes to people of color, we are told to mainstream our stories. Take away the ethnicity, take away the kimchi, take away the Korean, take away the funny accents, make it relatable, which oftentimes doing a lot of heavy lifting for make it white. What I really appreciate about your story was it was deeply specific, not just with your personal emotions, your stories, but even deeply specific with the food. Like you went right in there, you used the Korean names, even crying in H Mart, not K Mart, H Mart. The decision to make it that specific, that personal, and that quote unquote ethnic. What prompted you to stick to it, even though you got the rejections at first? You're like, no, I'm gonna hone in on this specific core of my identity. I don't care what the people say.
I just didn't think about other people. I just told the story in my natural voice that made sense to me. Like I was sitting at a table with someone who was Korean, someone who wasn't Korean, someone who was kind of familiar with food, someone who wasn't familiar at all. And I just tried to tell the story where like I wasn't over-explaining things that someone who at the table would know what it was, but explaining it just enough so someone who was at the table who didn't know what it was would have an idea of what was going on. And if they didn't, it's fairly simple to look it up at this point. So yeah, I mean, I just thought about what I wanted to say and tried to say it in the most honest way possible, and that's what came out. And I think I'm really lucky, and this time period is really exciting because I had no pushback from my publisher, Knopf, at all. They were so supportive. They never told me to italicize anything. Right. Everything was just met with like so much trust and so much support.
You're talking about the difficulty sometimes in trying to explain to people what you're going through when your family member is suffering through cancer and you're the caretaker. And people are trying their best, but sometimes they ask the dumbest questions. Yeah. They trigger you. And the way you translate your emotions in the book, you use food. And food becomes a type of a comfort for you. It becomes a way for you to remember your mom. And food is a way, specifically in this story, where universal audiences are able to actually use food to actually understand you in this journey, right? Did you know when you were writing that the power of food would be that universal, specifically Korean food, to really latch on as a symbol for these really profound concepts about cancer, relationships, longing, comfort?
I think I knew pretty early on that it was always going to be a major thematic vehicle. And I think that having that sort of focus and theme and limitation in a way to explore the expanse of your life with a parent was really helpful for me. And I think that there were so many different ways to explore not only just how food can be a part of your memory, how it can be a part of connection and cultural connection specifically, but also the more menacing parts of food. It can be a very painful thing, especially when someone's going through chemotherapy, trying to keep up weight and count calories and that type of thing. So it just really supported the narrative arc for me to always kind of return to it over and over again. But it makes sense, I think, in so many cultures, food plays such an important role. It brings people back to a sense of home. It brings people back to a specific memory. It brings families together. And so I think it makes sense that so many people are able to relate to that element.
We've been very lucky. In the past week, we've interviewed 60 people. You're my final interview. Yeah, food has been used to talk about climate change. Food has been used to talk about food insecurity. Food has been used as a call to action for a food czar because it intersects with so much. But to make it very personal, food, as I was reading the book, it's almost like and please tell me if I'm wrong, it's a vehicle that allows you to also connect with your mom. And we had Hrushi, who was, you probably know him, he's the host of Song Exploder, the podcast. Yeah. His mother passed away recently.
Yes, I know.
And so he said that he had a dream. And then he woke up, and he woke up after this dream where he was talking to his mom, and he wrote a song. And he said the song was a way for me to kind of talk to my mother who had passed. Does food serve that for you as well? Because it's so visceral. the recipes, the aroma that you sit there even now when you eat it, you're like, I'm having a conversation with the past and the present.
Absolutely, I feel that way very deeply. I mean, I think especially as a millennial with not much of a religious background or spirituality to lean on, it's very much a private ritual that I can that's simultaneously efficient and productive. You know, I mean,
and delicious.
And delicious, yeah. You need to like make food for yourself, and it's an hour that I can, you know, an hour, half an hour I can dedicate to like having a specific memory of my mom of when she would cook for me as a kid and the foods that she really liked. If the weather turns a certain way, I always think of what my mom would make for that occasion, or if it's a certain holiday, I like to carry on her sort of tradition. So it feels like I'm very much channeling her in the kitchen when I'm cooking, and I like to think that, you know, she would just think it's very cute that I'm keeping up those types of things.
Did you ever think growing up that H Mart would be a mainstream American thing, that people would know what an H Mart is, that you see like white hipsters voluntarily going to an H Mart? Like, did you ever imagine that happening? Because I sit there and listen, I'm like, wow, my friends are eating with their hands, ordering like desi food by themselves, and they know about achar. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. In a way, like, I feel like my mom kind of predicted this, or at least like her way of always making me feel better was like, oh, you just wait, like people in the city already eat this way, you know, and it's cool. And it was like impossible to believe that that was ever going to happen, but she like sort of predicted that, you know, being aware of different cultures and embracing them was going to be in vogue later on. And so I'm glad to see it. I think it's really exciting.
I feel like all the 100 H Marts across the nation like owe you a check. Like once a year.
Yeah.
Like, thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. I still go there like probably once or twice a week, but we are connected to them. I've met the CEO, and
of course
he's very nice.
Yeah. Like, they should just have you like be the spokesperson.
I do now.
I'm
like on the TVs and stuff like that. If I go to the grocery store, a lot of times they'll be playing a video we filmed together. And
at the H Mart.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
Do you just put your mask up then? You're like, okay.
No, I'm like, it's me, like trying to get a deal.
The map, not my ancestor. It was me. I wish I could talk to you for even longer, but I got 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna do my own type of rapid fire with you, real quick. But it'll be fun and easy. If no one knows anything about Korean food, you have to eat one dish first. What should they eat?
I feel like kimchi jjigae is like my go-to.
Oh, I saw a video of you making yesterday. It looks so
good. Yeah. So it's like a kimchi stew. I just feel like every Korean person loves that dish, and it's like not super basic. That everyone associates Korean food with, so that would be my go-to.
Okay, best Korean restaurant in America that you've personally visited?
Oh, that's tough. I don't want to. Well, it's easy, but I don't want to expose it. But I really
be generous with the world.
Yeah, I do really like Hungary, which is a kalguksu place in K-Town in LA, and I also like Chorangol in New York. That's one of my favorite.
Pain coming
yeah,
from you.
I don't. It's already very busy there, and I don't really want that many people to go. But that's my current favorite in New York.
All right. Favorite band at South by Southwest that people need to pay attention to?
Oh, I have this. I feel like I've repped the crap out of her, but my friend Sis Sami has been playing.
She played right after you.
Yeah, she played right after me. She's my favorite band right now, I would say. I also love Chai. I think Chai is playing today.
I got excited. I thought you just meant Chai.
Yeah, they're actually a Japanese band, and they're really great. Yeah.
You have a movie adaptation coming out. Who's playing you?
I mean, I don't think that there is. I couldn't tell you a single half Korean actress in her early 20s. So I think that it's a really wonderful opportunity to find some new talent.
All right, who would you want to play you?
I don't know any half Korean actors.
Is it very important? Is it very important for the actress, whoever's chosen, to be half Korean?
It is to me. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think that there will also be a lot of like. I think that like it would be good to find someone that knows some Korean, because I think that will be a part of the screenplay. So I think it is important to me. Yeah.
You're also writing the screenplay?
Yes.
You finished it?
I finished the first draft. I'm going to be working on revisions this month.
You feel good about it?
I do currently. I'm sure tomorrow or the next day I won't, but you know, it fluctuates.
Here's a nerdy movie buff question. Who's a screenwriter that you love, that you were inspired by to write this?
I don't know if he inspired the story specifically at all, but I think one of my favorite screenwriters of all time is certainly Charlie Kaufman. I'm also a really big Noah Baumbach fan. And I think that he has such a beautiful way of like saying so many things between the lines that I find to be really inspiring. I've been reading that a lot. I read, I feel like somewhere between like Lulu Wang's The Farewell and Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird is sort of where my screenplay kind of fits between.
Movie's going to come out hopefully next year.
Definitely not next year.
Yeah, okay, 2 years from now maybe.
I don't know how any of this works.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Inshallah, it'll happen. Jubilee's out now. Grammys are next month. I hope you prepare your winning face.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck. I'm so happy they're having joy right now, and I'm so happy that you are tasting the fruits of all the labor and the pain and the rewards. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Michelle, thank you again for being here, and thank you all for tuning in. Japanese Breakfast's latest album, again, is entitled Jubilee. It's nominated for 2 Grammys. It's available on Apple Music, Spotify, and wherever you get your music. You can watch all of our studio interviews on the South by Southwest TV app, available on Apple TV, Roku, Android TV, and Amazon Fire. And these interviews are also available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/SXSW. And for a complete list of our interview schedule, check out sxsw.com/studio. I'm Wajat Lee, and thank you for watching.